So, welcome to today's IDRPP Time to Act Substance Use Echo. My name's Leo, and I'm the project assistant for Project Echo here up at the IDRPP. We are recording today's session. We record them for educational and quality improvement purposes. So, by participating in the session, you are consenting to be recorded. So, if you don't wish to be recorded, you can disconnect now. Echo is a it's a interactive community where we all like to participate with each other. It's facilitated throughout just the whole session and within our breakout rooms. So we really like to be engaged and ask each other questions and give each other some really great resources. I'm also going to plug case narratives and discussions. I'm doing the case presentation today, but I really like having a variety of cases. So even if your case, if you don't think it matches the topic, it doesn't matter. You can always send in a case to projectscope@usu.edu and we can help you get that figured out so you can present your case. Let's also remember to protect individual privacy when we're using examples within the breakout rooms or just within our questions themselves. Just de-identify the information, their first, middle, or last names. And if you're not sure about how to de-identify something, you could always reach out to one of our hub members who they'll have asterisks in front of their screens. Or no, not their screens, in front of their names, and you'll be able to identify them like that. There are three key components of an echo session. The first is our didactic speaker, which for today will be Shianne Anderson, and she'll be talking about the program that she's running up at the Tooele County Sheriff's Department. The second component is case presentations and recommendations, and I'll be doing the case presentation for today. And the third is professional networking, so that just is facilitated throughout the whole session as well. And if you don't know or you're unsure about how to rename your profile, here's kind of just an updated version of how you can do that just by clicking those three little dots. You click rename, and then we ask that you do put your first, your last, and last name, the state that you're in, your job title, and your organization as well. This is also a little bit about how to raise your hand. I know a lot of us have been on Zoom, especially since after the pandemic, almost everything went on Zoom, but this is how to basically raise your hand. And if you want, just in the little reactions button. So if you have a question during the presentation, it's always good to raise your hand and we can call on you and you can ask your question. And to get credit for attendance, you want to fill out the survey. The survey link will be dropped about every 20 minutes within the chat. So once you fill out that survey, you can get our certificate of attendance for the specific session that you attended. So make sure you fill out our surveys. And there also is a part where you put in your address and your phone number and stuff. We just ask for that so we can send you some free stuff. So if you want some free merch and some cool swag, you can enter your address and you might get sent something. Canvas is also the platform that we use to store a lot of our resources. We store our session recordings, additional resources, and our case presentations and recommendations as well. So if you'd like an invite to the substance use disorder echo, you can email projectscope@usu.edu and you can always request for an invite on our Canvas page. And case studies. I'll put in another case study plug because I think they're just really important and they're honestly one of my favorite parts of an echo session. You're just able to hear from your colleagues and receive really valuable feedback to take back and apply to that case. So if you're interested, please reach out to projectscope@usu.edu, and they don't need to match the didactic. So it could be any case that you're having trouble on, and we'd be so happy to help you guys with that. And also make sure that you're following us on all our social media pages. We have a Facebook, Instagram, and a LinkedIn. So if you'd like to follow us, you can scan that QR code or you can look us up on Instagram at projectecho_IDRPP, and you can find our link tree to all of our social media websites. And also, if you want to, you can join our Facebook group just so we can continue some discussions after the session. And sometimes I'll be dropping some resources or just some flyers about case presentations in that Facebook group. So it's always really nice to be in it. So yeah, that's the end of my spiel, and I'm going to give the time over to Shianne, who is presenting for us today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shianne Anderson. I work for the Tooele County Sheriff's Office. I run a program called Exit Strategies. Basically, what that is it's a reentry program. We house state and county inmates over there. So I work with both state and county inmates. We create individualized exit plans. And that what that looks like is like, so if you're a state inmate, then we have to follow whatever your parole guidelines are. And so they go to the board and they get a paper that says what their guidelines are. And so for some of them, it's standard parole. And they can just, as long as their address is approved, they can go, and there are no real stipulations outside of not using and those types of things. Or it might say you are required to do CCC or RSUT. So that means a community correctional facility, which is a halfway house, or a treatment center. You get to choose. And then it might have sidelined on that. You have to complete a CBT, or you have to seek anger management, right? So we kind of look at those things, and we go down a list of, okay, where are you going to be? You're going to be in Cache Valley, or you're going to be in Weber, Utah County. Okay, so if you need to complete CBT, right? So let's look for the options that are, not only are they going to take your insurance, which is likely going to be TAN or Medicaid, what's going to fit for you in your area? Okay, you don't have a car, so let's make sure that you know what the bus system is. Let's get you a bus pass. Let's make sure that you're prepared, and get you. Sometimes it's setting up an appointment. We have a lot of inmates that want to, our jail specifically will place you on a maintenance program, a substance use maintenance program. So like Suboxone or Vivitrol or Sublocade before you leave incarceration. And so my job is to make sure that I set you up a follow-up appointment so that when you leave, you're going straight within a couple of day period to an appointment to continue that medication and get yourself into some type of outpatient treatment. Whether they do it or not, right? That's not my job. That's not my part. My part is just to make sure that the dots are connected and that they have a blueprint when they walk out the door. Because I know for myself, leaving incarceration, so many times it was like, well, they have all these expectations of you, but you're just overwhelmed, to be quite honest. And on top of that, you're set back into your environment, and which is 90% of the time chaos. And so when you're set back into that environment and you're expected to, often you're on probation, so you got to go see your probation officer, and they want you to go get an assessment done. And you find out that Medicaid doesn't cover a drug assessment. And so now you got to pay $90 to go get an assessment done, and you don't even know where to go. And you would think, oh, it's real simple. Just Google it, right? And then you Google it and you get 40 different answers. And some of them are like 1-800 numbers. Like, and you're going, I don't know who to call. And now what we're asking you to do is cross-reference this phone number and this address to your location to make sure that's the closest one. And now you got a price point, right? Because again, Medicaid's not paying for this assessment, right? So now you got to find out where you can go. Now you got to afford this assessment. It's a lot of information. By the time you get to just that first part, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's how recidivism happens. And so I think it's really important to build a map to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. You got to get this done. So let's get all these things in order. Like, these are the 3 places that are going to be closest to your house. You can pick any one of those. If you'd like me to set an appointment for you, I can do that. If you don't, here's the options. So we're narrowed. Now you've got the address and you've got the phone number and you've got the availability of that location. And it makes it a lot easier. Now I don't have to Google 100 numbers. I've got this little map that says these 3 places right close to where I'm going to be living. I can call these places. It just makes it a little easier for them to navigate. Sometimes it's things like getting into treatment. The halfway house has long been what inmates most call the trap, right? You leave prison and you go into a community housing center that is supposed to help you transition from a full lockdown to a partial lockdown where you have a curfew and there are correctional officers on site and case managers, and you have to get approval for things, and you can't have people come over, and like there are lots of restrictions that are it's supposed to help you transition. But often what happens is that there's often drugs inside these facilities. And they're not looking at you like they're not trying to sit down and have a conversation with you about who did what, because it's not daycare. Everybody's going back to prison. And so um, a lot of people are scared. They don't want to go to the halfway house. They've done it, they see what it looks like, and they're terrified. And I say, okay, well, do you want to go to treatment? Because here it says you can go to the halfway house or you can go to treatment. They say, I want to go to treatment. And so then we get to have a conversation about their personality type, right? What area do you want to be in? One of my most often asked questions is, where did you do all your dirt? Because if it's on the block in downtown Salt Lake, I'm probably not going to send you to Odyssey House. And that's not because it's not a good program. It's because you can walk half a block and be in the neighborhood where you did your dirt, and it's probably just not a good idea. And I mean, some people can probably do, and if they choose, if they say, hey, I want to go to Odyssey House, I've done that program, I really like it, then we'll go there. But oftentimes I want to say, hey, let's get you out of your normal environment and let's give you a shot at trying something different in a safe place if they choose treatment, right? So it's things like that, working those types of things out when we're working on an exit plan. We have a lot of people like, mothers and fathers that are they're dealing with DCFS, or they're dealing with a partner that's using, or a partner who's in drug court. And so they're trying to figure out how do they navigate the system in these ways. And so my job in that is to kind of look up resources for them, like, hey, this is a resource for you, contact this person when you get out. Or, hey, like their DCFS is requiring that you go to community meetings and you be part of, some sort of thing going on in your community, right? So, hey, these are the things in your area. These are the things that sometimes I share, like, these are the things that I do in my community. You can join me. Just giving opportunities, figuring out what it is that they need, and then building a plan from there. Um, I'm a substance use counselor. I'm also a peer support specialist. My unique position with this program is that's never really been done before, and they're starting to do it in lots of places, is that they have access to me when they leave incarceration. This is not a one and done from behind the walls. They can contact me when they leave, and a lot of them do. They call me and they say, hey, I'm struggling. Like, I don't know what to do in this situation. And we can talk about it. Sometimes it's just helping them get through a rough moment, right? Just peer supporting them in a space where they're struggling because their girlfriend broke up with them, or that, maybe it's something as serious as their mom died and they don't know what to do. And we get to have those conversations. We just recently had someone who is in our RISE program. I also am a coordinator for the RISE program in the jail. It's a substance use program. They have it in Utah County and now in Tooele County Jail. And she relapsed, and she was in sober living, and she immediately called our team and said, hey, this is what happened, and I don't know what to do, and I'm really not okay. Like, I'm really upset with myself. And she could have chose to just keep going, like, because that's what happens. Like, you relapse and you just get the screw it, and you just want to carry on and burn your life to the ground. And what we try to teach them is, like, you don't have to do it that way. You can reach out. We're not going to judge you. I want to help you. And so her reaching out to us and saying, this is what I did. Now we get to help her find a new solution, right? Because she's kind of burned the bridge where she's at, and she can't go home. And so now together as a team, we get to help this girl find a new solution. And in the interim, she's contacting us, keeping in touch, like, this is what I'm doing today, and I'm really struggling with this. And I think that that's the part where we reduce recidivism, because she's getting the support that she doesn't otherwise have. And she's finding out that this doesn't have to be the journey where, oh, we make a mistake and then we just burn our life to the ground until we find ourselves back in incarceration and we start over. As a person with lived experience, I've been through that. Every single time that I relapsed, I would be like, well, we're just going to run it till the wheels fall off, and then they'll lock me up and we'll start over. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can make a mistake and you can just pick yourself up and keep going. And I think that it's hard to believe that can be true until people are advocating for it to be true in your life and supporting you in those spaces. And so that's one of the things that I'm most passionate about doing in this program is being able to be in that space with those people and seeing the way that it changes the narrative for them in a way that they've never had it changed before because they don't have support. They don't have family support. If they haven't been in recovery before, they don't have recovery support. And so I think those types of things are so valuable. And we've never really done that in incarceration before. You're not allowed to give your information to them. It's long been a rule. And we're making exceptions for programs like this. And we're proving that it works. The prison is starting to do similar things. You can't give your personal number, but you can give your contact information for a work number or something, you know. And we're seeing these things begin to work in other incarcerated settings. And I think if we look at, 5 or 10 years from now, I think that we're going to see these programs everywhere because we're going to have the data that says they work. And we're not going to be able to ignore that anymore as a solution to incarceration and reducing recidivism. And honestly, that's my goal is we're collecting data. This year is the first year we're collecting some hard data because I've been doing this program for almost 3 years, but this was the first year that I actually got hired on with the sheriff's office. And it really opened the door for us to be able to collect data and all of the things that we haven't really been able to do before. And so we're going to be able to prove it on a bigger scale. And that's super exciting for me I'm excited to see. We have a prelim data right now that just says the first 6 months of the year, we recorded 58 graduates from the Rise and the Exit program. And we compared it to, I'm assuming releases from the first, 6 months of the year. And it was 19% of the general population that did not attend or graduate these programs returned to incarceration, 17% for the people who did. And on 58 participants, that's 3 people. And so I think that we're already seeing it, that it's working. I know that it's working because I know these people. These aren't numbers to me. These are people I know. And so I get to see what they're doing with their life, and I get to see the way that it plays out. I had one case we were advocating in court for him. The judge did not take our advocacy. He didn't. He said, I see that you guys want to advocate for this, but this guy's going to prison, and that's what he did. He went to prison for a year. Throughout that year, he contacted me periodically just to kind of let me know what he was doing in prison and how he was doing. And he got admitted into the SOLID program, which was part of our strategy. Like, hey, I want you to seek the SOLID program and see if you can get in, which he did. He got released recently, and the first thing he did was call me and say, "Okay, I'm ready to be a peer support specialist. What do I got to do?" And we walked him through that application process. I helped him with I gave him a letter of reference, right? Because you need 2 of those. And he was just so excited to get out and follow through. This was our plan the whole time when we were working on an exit strategy in jail. He went to prison and he said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep in contact with you. And he did exactly that. And then he got out and he did exactly what he said he was going to do. It's not constant communication, right? So I don't like follow these guys, every day of their life. But they reach out every once in a while, and I get to see the progress they're making and that they're following through with their strategies, even though he went to prison, right? That wasn't what we wanted, but we knew that could be part of the plan. And we plan B for that. And he's following that. And so many times he's called me and he's just said, I'm really thankful for you because I don't have anybody else to support me and motivate me. And that's powerful. It just takes like one person to say like, hey, I think you can do this and let me show you how, and to motivate them to believe that they can do something different. It doesn't have to be like this. Then it doesn't matter what your background is. It matters a little. That's the second piece, right? Is I also work with inmates who have sex offenses on their record. that one's a difficult one. Those are one of the things that I advocate on a larger scale for, because there's not a lot of resources. There's not a lot of things that we can do. We have community partners though that have been really amazing at helping us kind of figure out how we navigate resources for every one of these populations. And that's treatment, having resources from treatment facilities that I can just call up and be like, hey man, I need a bed. And they're like, hey, shoot me the info. And we do that, and they, okay, we got a bed, let's get it done. The judge works with us a lot on early release to treatment. If he knows that I'm on the case, he'll say, okay, I'm going to give you early release to treatment. I'm in court on every in custody day, and the judge will say, see that lady with the red hair? Go find her at the jail and she will help you get into treatment. And they do that. So and it wouldn't be nearly as easy without all the community partners that I work with that are willing to help us, because a lot of times, right, they don't have insurance when they leave. They qualify for targeted adult Medicaid, but they don't have it. And so when I send them to a center, the center has to deal with that. They come in with no insurance and they have to get them into insurance, which they do that, right? But they know that that's the deal with the inmates that I'm sending them. Like, hey, they don't have insurance. I need you to do the thing. And the community partners that work really well with me, they're happy to do it, which that's what makes this whole thing work, is just everybody gathering together and doing their part to help someone get from one phase to the next phase. And I think everybody that I work with on a pretty regular basis, everybody has the same goal. Like we obviously we understand public safety, right? We understand the desire to reduce recidivism, but we also see these as people. They're people, and we just want to help them do better, and they don't know how. And so we just kind of be a light for that. I'm not sure. Do we have any questions? I'm not sure what else to say. That was long-winded what I said and all that stuff.
I know Janelle's got one.
You're muted still.
I'm on mute, so you can't hear me. I should know how to unmute, right? So you had mentioned that you really work with the parents and DCFS. So there's some of us that are on this call that work for Part C early intervention, and we have the CAPTA referrals that come to us, and sometimes those families are involved in incarceration as well as working on that reunification with the families. A lot of what we do is working to support families and their child development. So how could we as early intervention providers support you within your efforts, or help the family to connect with you? Or are there things that you are already currently doing with community partners for the kids?
There's not anything specifically that I do like for the children. For most part, it's for example, I had a case not long ago. He came in, he said, hey, DCFS is involved, and I don't know, like I was in the middle of doing visits and stuff, and now I've just disappeared. When they find out I'm in jail, it's going to be a problem for my case, and I don't know what to do because the number I have doesn't go through on the jail phone. I said, okay, give me the number. And so then I get the number and I say, okay, I need your permission. I'm going to call these people. I'm going to tell them where you are. And then we're going to find out if we can get you a number that isn't going to be blocked from this jail, or a number you can call that is, can be collect for you if you don't have any money on your phone. And so then I did that. I called, I said, this is who I am. This is what I work, where I work, and this is what we do. I have this person here that has a case with you, and they don't know how to get a hold of you because your number is not allowed here. And then I say, do you have a secondary number, right, that they can call collect, or a way that they can get a hold of you? And then I kind of leave it on the agency. Like I don't know what all their policies and procedures are. I think if I overwhelmed myself with every agency and how those things, because I connect people to resources in general, that's a lot of different depending on what they need, right? So, and then I just kind of like, if there's anything they need me to relay or deal with, then for that particular case, she said, okay, we'll deal with it. And by the end of the next week, he said, I'm getting visits with my child. And so it got handled on there. And a lot of times what's happening is that's information I'm not allowed to have, right? So they can't really communicate with me about cases. And this happens in a lot of scenarios with different agencies where they're not really allowed to communicate with me. I can communicate the stuff to them and then they handle it in their basket, right? However that needs to be done. And so for a lot of cases, that's what we do is I just pass the information through and hope that it gets sorted out on that end. Because I know that every agency is doing their part and sometimes they don't have the information available to them. And sometimes I had another similar type case and the caseworker from DCFS called me and said, I don't know how to do visits over there. Like, do I take the kid over here? Like, what do we do? I've never done this before. And so I connected them. This is what we do. This is where the website is. This is how this all works out. And she was really relieved that they could do web visits because she's like, I really don't want to go down there. And so sometimes it's that, right? Just kind of communicating what the need is and how they figure that out. And I mean, I'm pretty much whatever you need. Let's do it.
Well, that's really interesting. Have you ever thought of doing like a fact sheet or a step-by-step of how you might do a visit, like you were just talking with DCFS, um, that how to do a visit at a jail or at when they are incarcerated,
Well, each
or is there
facility
one
is
out there?
actually different. So, and then their websites, right? Each facility has a website that defines and describes how you do the visit. So, like in that case, I said, here's the link to go to this website and it'll tell you what you need to do. And in case that doesn't make sense to you, here is the number for the front desk at the sheriff's office. They will walk you through it. So each incarcerated place has a different system. They're not all the same systems. They have different ways to visit. For instance, my jail, if you do it web from your home, you pay for it. If you come into the facility, there is a computer inside the lobby where you can do it for free. So that's something that's always important, that's information that's important for me to know when people can't, like, I want to see my son, but I can't afford, $3 a minute or $3 a web visit, right? And well, if you can come down to the lobby, you can do that visit for free.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then it looks like Elizabeth has her hand up as well. So
Oh, we still can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. You're unmuted, but we still can't hear you for some reason.
if you want, you can always drop your question in the chat as well, and I can read it to Cheyenne. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, we can't hear you. So if you drop your question in the chat, we'll get to it for sure. And then I know Lindsay has her hand up as well. So Lindsay, if you'd like to ask.
Yeah, how do you handle the ethical conflicts, right, between being a peer and working in somewhere that you are required to do reporting like a jail? Or are you required to do reporting in the jail?
Reporting, like, what do you mean?
Like if you are you required to Like if you find out somebody is using, right? Somebody has a return to use, are you required to report that?
Yes, I am. I will preface that answer with this. When they come into my classroom, I do a couple of things. I want to be trusted, right? A lot of these people are still haven't been, they haven't done a plea, they haven't done any of those things. So I'm very careful and I let them know, hey, a couple of things in here. If you tell me information that is not legal, I am bound to report that. If you're talking about your case and you say something that you do not want admitted in court, don't say it in here. Because if they summons me, I will tell the truth. Right. And so they kind of know there are some rules um and we do that a lot. You know, we use the word allegedly a lot in groups because they're aware that when we're talking about things, the room is being recorded. They know that there's video and there's audio in the rooms. And so everything we talk, and they know that everything we talk about in here is recorded. They can pop on at any moment and see what we're doing and hear what we're doing. And so it it doesn't really retract, honestly, but I have had a case. Somebody he was charged with some pretty serious crimes against children. And he said some things to another inmate in class. I only heard part of it. That inmate in turn said, "Hey, I need to talk to you for a minute after class." He did. He reported to me what was said, and I did report that. And so I don't really run into those because I kind of set the tone. Like I don't want to report them. I don't want to do that. And they know that. But they also know that because of the ethics of my job, I will have to, if you divulge information to me, that I have to, you know, if it's something they're doing in the jail that they're not supposed to be doing, they know. If you report that to me, I have to report it. And they just know if it's part of your case, like I don't have to say anything about that. That's not my business. But if they summons me to court because they heard what you said, I have a duty to tell the truth. So just make sure you're careful about how you present yourself in my class. And they're always really good about knowing that. Um, the inmates are really good about reminding each other too. So, because we have some pretty deep conversations when we get into class, you know, about what's going on, and they're always talking about their cases. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, so a lot of times they come in, they want to understand the system, and because of my degree, I'm allowed to talk to them about that. I'm allowed to explain how the system works and what the process is going to look like, and what the probabilities are. And so we do have a lot of conversations about cases. And I just remind them, like, don't give me summons to court now. So watch what you say. And they know, you know, they're pretty good about it. So I haven't really had to deal with that. But in the cases where I have to, I will report.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth's question was, she was asking, what was the name of the organization that you represent?
Well, I don't know how to answer that question because I don't really. So the Rise Up Foundation is an organization that I do represent inside the jail. It's a 90-day substance use skills program. I'm a coordinator for that program inside the jail. It's in Utah County and now in Tooele. And so that is one organization that their goal is to connect resources inside and outside. So you follow them. We're inside teaching skills. It's a 90-day course, 12 weeks. And then they're able to follow us out. So if we're talking about the organization that I was talking about, that girl in the team, that's the Rise Up Foundation. I also do work with USU. And like my main job now, I work for the sheriff's office. So
And then Matt also has a question as well.
I was just going to jump in because I work with Cheyenne, because that made me laugh hearing the question about what organization does Cheyenne represent. But just I wanted to provide like a little context. Cheyenne is a go getter and has largely created this program herself, but she started off with USU, and our whole goal was to we had a hard time getting programs into the jail, and we really wanted to because we knew that was a population that needed programming. And then Cheyenne, did great work and with our other coordinator Melissa Flint, and they got in there and she started the exit program and all these things that she's doing. And our long term goal was that the sheriff's office would take over this program and own it, and that's what, like Cheyenne said, has started happening this year. So we still work with Cheyenne on some other community, like recovery community things, but the jail stuff is really now her and the Tooele County Sheriff's Office. So I don't know if that was helpful context, but it's an interesting story for sure.
Thank you. And then Lindsay, you can ask as well.
Yeah. So how are you, like, I know in Texas, right, we have a few scattered programs that can go into jails, but I work with peers, right? So how do you, we have an issue with not being able to get people who have a criminal record, like a true peers, in to visit jails, right? Because the jails have the background checks and things like that. And then even like how to get a program into the jail, like how do you get that started? Who do you reach out to? How do you set it up?
I mean, honestly, man, we've been so blessed over here because we it took like Matt was saying, it was a lot just getting programs into the jail. Um, uh, to be honest, the jail lieutenant at the time, we didn't know it, but he was pretty much on his way out the door. So he just kind of like, I think he just signed on for everyone that wanted to come in there at the last little space, right? And then the lieutenant that we got after that, he actually co-founded the RISE program in the Utah County Jail. And so he was already in line with what I was doing and the idea of reentry programs. He already had seen the evidence of that working. And so he was just like the perfect partner. And it's just seemed like divine matching that he just fell in our lap that way. And he really just opened the door when there was the opportunity for me to work for the sheriff's office. There were a lot of hoops to get me in. And he's just been diligent. And thankfully, we have a sheriff that trusts. He says, "Hey, man, you're the lieutenant here. Our lieutenant he's been in law enforcement for 30 years. So he's just like, I trust you. This is your jail. Whatever you see, let's do it." And he just agrees. So, I mean, in short, we've just got an amazing team and everybody trusts, the person that's in charge of this corner and this corner. And everybody just kind of proves and works together. I would say, adding on to that, I've been working in this community for a few years before this happened. And like Matt said, I'm a go-getter. I'm everywhere. I'm pretty unforgettable. So if I see you as somebody that can potentially be a part of this mission, I will target you and we will be friends and you will be part of this. And so it's just kind of been that way. I just kind of go into spaces and I make myself known and I pull resources. And so everybody that's involved kind of already knew who I was. And I think they trusted my intention. They trusted my work ethic. So in short, I think that had a lot to do with it. I've had lots of other county jails come to me, and Salt Lake County Jail, for instance, they have a program. They're trying to expand it. They do things a little bit different, right? So they have an office as you walk out the door when you're already leaving the jail, and they're like, we can't get people to come in here. I'm like, you're not gonna. They're on their way out. Let me go, man. I'm leaving. And they hired someone straight from the prison. He was in prison for 20 years. And he got his peer support certification while he was incarcerated in Utah State Prison, and they hired him before he even left, which is amazing to me. And I'm just so proud of them for that. And I'm so happy about it. It makes me so excited. Sione's a great guy, and I'm excited to watch him grow, and I'm excited to watch him in this position. And I think that's going to be helpful. But that was another barrier, right? Getting him with his history and all those things, like they had to have the team be like, okay, we're gonna give you an inch, which is hire this guy. But they're still not really the part where they want to expand is getting classes. So for me, it was we have classes in the jail. I'm there every single day except for Wednesdays, and we hold classes, and that's how we get through this. And that part has been difficult for Salt Lake. They don't really want to expand into that space, but I think that if we keep pushing programs like this and awareness like this, I think that just getting the foot in the door, getting Sione into that spot as a peer support specialist, I think it's going to change the narrative. It might take a minute, but I think it's going to open the door. And they've interviewed me on how we do our program, and they want to expand it in that way. It's just getting the higher ups to hop on board. So I think that's it's building relationships, right? Build relationships in those spaces so that you can put a bug in their ear and get an opportunity. That's really what it requires.
Thank you.
All right. So it looks like there's not. Does anybody else have any additional questions? If you do, you can drop it in the chat or raise your hand. I'll leave like a minute for it.
I've seen some comments in the chat. I'm up.
Can I say something while you're looking for the comments too?
Yeah.
I just want to say, I just want to say thank you, Cheyenne. Like seriously, you're doing amazing work and, creating a pathway for a lot of us that are trying to help in those areas. So really appreciate it. And you're amazing. Thank you.
Likewise. I love you, girl.
I love you.
All right. I think Elizabeth was just commenting about some resources in Washington, D.C., so that's pretty awesome. And Matt was also just saying that, yeah, the program's been successful, so that's awesome. I'm gonna jump into my case presentation. So let me start sharing my screen. Alrighty. Cool. So this is the case presentation that I kind of had with kind of an older family that I used to work with a long time ago. The background on the case, obviously these are not real names. The setting is a home-based early intervention in a suburban community in Utah. The family I'm working with is the Johnson family. He has a 2-year-old child named Eli who has been referred to the Part C program for concerns regarding speech and social emotional development. Eli has very limited vocabulary and tends to use gestures instead of words. His speech delay is compounded by challenges in social engagement as well. So he won't notice others' emotions really, and he won't really pause when his mother kind of acts sad or happy. It's almost like it's kind of not really expression, or he's not really showing much expression or reaction to his mother as well. He has troubles identifying certain objects when pointing to them in a book. So, example, I was reading to him and I said, "Oh, the pink pig," and he would not point to the pink pig. It would be another object itself. Sarah, she's also a single mother to Eli. She's expressed concerns about her ability to help Eli's development, and she's under a lot of stress due to financial instability. And Eli's father, Grant, is mostly absent from the household, and Sarah has stated that Grant is a person that is in active use as well. Grant does try to visit Eli, yet these visits may be infrequent. Eli's grandparents are very involved. They're frequently involved in helping care for him, but live in a different town that's about 30 minutes away. Sarah is actively recovering from opioid use disorder. Although she has attended treatment programs and made really great progress, she still struggles with short lapses in opioid use. And the primary areas of concern, it's Eli's difficulty with communication and his social emotional regulation, specifically his difficulty with outbursts and kind of inconsolability. Eli has shown some progress with speech therapies, yet his emotional regulation kind of continues to impede his overall growth and development, so he's not necessarily hitting those milestones that he should be. He also has some family-related challenges. I mean, Sarah has concerns over her lapses in opioid use. Yeah, his grandparents are aware of her substance use disorder, and they do try to help her the best way they can. They're honestly very supportive, but they live really far away. They live about 30, 45 minutes away, so they aren't necessarily the most reliable source of caregiving or even a reliability for Sarah herself. And so I guess how can I just coordinate with Sarah to provide a safe space for Eli and any resources to refer Sarah to? And then Eli's father's minimal involvement means that Sarah's basically essentially navigating this developmental journey on her own, which also adds to the emotional and financial strain of her life. The goals, I really social emotional development, communication, hitting those milestones, and easing Sarah's stress because the family is a unit, and if one part of that unit isn't doing good, then the whole unit might fall apart. The barriers are family dynamics, implementation of strategies within the family themselves, and then communication between all parts of the team of caregivers. And milestone goals, I want Eli to point at things or pictures when they're named, and Sarah wants Eli to be able to kind of follow some simple instructions with no tantrums. Sarah is concerned about Eli's development, and Eli's grandparents are concerned as well. They're both really new to the Part C early intervention program, so they kind of don't really know where to go or what the process is, or even just some resources. So that's why in the questions, it's A, familial resources for Sarah and her grandparents, and just general resources for Sarah herself. So maybe some parent groups or just support groups as well. The second question is best way to communicate and coordinate with Sarah and her family to provide the best care for Eli. And third is strategies for communication development and social emotional development for 2-year olds. So strategies preferably easy to use for families so they can implement it all together kind of, or Sarah's doesn't really have a hard time implementing those strategies. So yeah, that was my presentation. And then Tori, I think. So we're going to break out into breakout rooms and just discuss some of the case questions that we have. I think we'll do 2.
Are you gonna put them down in the chat,
Oh,
the
yes,
questions,
yeah,
or can you?
I will for sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, 1 second. I have them all in a Word document.
Hey, Tori, if you want to put us in our groups.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask that.
I hope you guys welcome back. I hope you guys had some great conversation. Um, I know Tori was in one of the groups, so Tori, you should tell me like an interesting insight or an idea that maybe you guys had.
Um, I would love to. I'm trying to decide which ones I liked the most. I think I want to share two. So we kind of
Cool.
like tried to go over a couple of the questions just to have good conversation. And one of the resources that we talked about for Sarah is just because it seems like she's lacking some support, um, like to help her kind of face this challenging situation that she's in. And so we talked about like helping her find some places of respite care so that she doesn't always have to be um maybe in charge of her child. Maybe sometimes she can just drop him off for a bit and just go take care of something that she needs or like have some self-care time that can maybe help her um revitalize herself. And I thought that was a great idea. And then another thing that we kind of talked about, and this is the third question, so this is about like the strategies for like development and social emotional development for Eli. And we talked about like different ways to kind of help him regulate. And so we talked about like some books, and some like breathing techniques. And I think like I can't remember exactly like whether this was a book or this was like a strategy, but it's called Mindful Meds, and it has a lot of different things that you can do in the moment to kind of work on breathing and like activating all these different calming stuff in the body. I can't say as well as it was said in discussion, but there was a lot of really good ideas. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Tori. And Lindsay also dropped in the chat too that Facebook groups, including local parenting groups, buy nothing groups, the free gifting economy resources. Yeah, that's a great idea, honestly, as well. Just to have Sarah maybe be put into one of those groups, or I could find her one. And then I know Janelle was in the second group. So Janelle, you got an insight you want to share?
Yeah, so there's a lot of really great resources shared in ours. The biggest one that there was two resources that were my takeaways, and the first one was the Odyssey House. They have parenting classes as well as residential treatment, and then they partner with their local early intervention Part C program to have them come in and do strategies with the parent and that. And then another one that was talked about was it was the Live Start Village. It's a family sober living. Did I say the name right, Sarah?
Life Start Village.
Life Start. See, okay, Life Start Village. And it has a wait list, but it is family sober living, and so the parents and child, we're not sure. We think it's just for women, but those were some great resources that were talked about in ours.
Thank you, Janelle. Honestly, that's really cool. And I know I have someone from Odyssey House actually presenting in November, so I'm excited what they are gonna say, and I want to hear some more information from them. But yeah, thank you guys for some great insights and some good networking. Our next session is going to be on September 10th, so the second Wednesday of September. So at the same time at 12 p.m. MST, and you join the same way that you did in this one. So if you have an iEcho account, everything should go smoothly. Also, don't forget to make sure you take that survey that's been dropped in the chat. Tori's been dropping that survey link, and it will also be in the post email that we send out to you guys. And lastly, I do want to plug in some case presentations. Again, I keep plugging them, but if you do have a case that you would like to present, you can always just contact Project Scope or Project Echo at usu.edu, and we can get that collaboration started. And if you would also like an invite to our Canvas page as well, make sure you just email Project Scope and I can get you that invite sent. So thank you guys. I'll see you at the next one.